I would like now to change my style and do an exercise. This is a very special exercise. Don't open anything. Just listen to me, please. We will form groups, and there will be a competition among the groups. The way we will form the groups is as follows. Don't do it now, but this is how we are going to do it. The first line, you will turn your chairs around and form a group with the second line. The third line, you will form a group with the brothers and sisters behind you. The fifth line would form a group with those behind you. The last line, because they don't have anyone behind them, you move your tables and form a group. The minimum number of people in a group is 4. The maximum number of people in a group is 6. Right? Now let me explain everything. Listen, please. Let me explain everything, and then I let you work. I have given each table, not each person, a copy of the exercise. What is this exercise? This is, don't look at it yet. I called it the committee's competition. So, in short, I developed this exercise. It's a very unique exercise. I imagined that there are 6 cities competing on what is the best city. And these cities are mentioned in the second page. And they are competing on 6 areas. Each area will call it a committee. So they're competing on financial committee, women's committee, activities committee, etc. And then after the introduction, yes, Yafi?
I think the one that was the wrong balance line.
Distributed the balance line.
No, balance life, okay. If you have the balance life, take it back. Where are the organizers? And pass to them the committees, please. Again, don't open it, listen. So you don't need to work on this. Just exchange when the brothers give you. So if you have balance life, give it back. And use the committees. Right, let's
Competition, right?
yeah, committees competition. So let's finish this quickly. Yeah. One per table or 2 per group only. Huh? You're allowed to use 2 copies only. Now listen. What do I need from you? What is your role? After the introduction page, I have given you all the information that you would need to give me the results of this competition. Who is number 1 in the financial committee? Listen, I don't want only who is number 1. I want who is number 1 and 2 and 3 up to 6. In the financial committee, in the women's committee, in every committee, I need the full order. Now I have given you the information scattered. It's not organized. And believe me, it is really scattered. So you have to sort out the information and decide on the order of the results. So you're the committee, you're the group that will give us the results of this competition. 6 cities, 6 areas. What are the results? Now, there is a competition among you as groups. So we have about 10, 12 groups. The moment 2 groups get it right, the competition among you is over. You will not be given the chance to finish. So, work smartly and efficiently, and remember, you don't have all the time in the world. There is no specific time for this exercise. It is the first 2 who get it right, it's over. Now, any questions before we go? Any questions? You know what is required from you? Right. First line, turn around third line, turn around, fifth line, turn around, and the last group, one person was reading, and he was writing. And they didn't even use the other copy. It was just sitting around. There was no plan. You plan. You divide the work. You make sure that you use the resources. And of course, there is a time limit, so you have to plan on the time. Okay, so number 3, I'm going very quickly. Number 3 that you need to have a good team is motivation. So I was going around watching for motivation. Those who are enthusiastic, those who would encourage each other. MashaAllah, good point. I would congratulate the team in the end there, the sisters and the brothers. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, they clap and that's what we're looking for. It's a motivated team, huh? It's a motivated team. So you look for that. There were teams who stood up. Some of them stood up. They were working, and there were some teams that were looking for no motivation. So a team in the middle here stood up. The team that got the answer right, mashallah. Several times I saw them. They stood up. They worked together. They were a team. There was motivation, encouragement. Like number 4 is participation. So I was watching very closely. The team that was motivated, the girls were motivated. The gentlemen were not really motivated. So the girls did most of the work, and they were very into. And I was watching several times. Huh? Rarely they would speak. Huh? Come in.
They're shy.
They're shy. Huh? In this team, we added a new member. He came late. I watched this, huh? I watched this. No, you have a new member. How do you include that? He missed something. So you didn't include him. And he ended up going around, talking around. He was not included in the team.
He was the Tarbiyah.
We sent him to spy.
So give me excuses now. So you include. I would really congratulate Dr. Azman. There were several girls that came late. So they were part of a team that did not pay attention to them. The brothers there in the last team were reading alone. The sisters were sitting doing nothing. And then 2 more girls came. So there became 4 girls and 4 men. So I said to the girls, do you want to work alone? And they said yes, because they were not included. They were not included. I mean, they didn't feel part of the team. They did nothing. So they moved and they joined Azman, Dr. Azman, in his table. What did Azman do? He explained to them. Some of them came late. They don't know what's going on. He explained the details. And he gave them his answers until that point. And then he let them do the rest. MashaAllah, congratulations. Great work. Because they did something, he did wonderful work. He included them. As a matter of fact, he did more than that. He gave them the work.
Must be stubborn.
So we look for participation. Number 5. I look for listening. A good team listen to each other. So I was watching. There are several times I saw several people speaking at the same time. And the amazing thing, they were talking about different things. So who was listening? So listen. When somebody speaks, listen. And this is the role of a leader now. If somebody speaks, he asks the others to listen. Remember, in each team, this is natural. You will have outspoken people, and you have shy people, or polite people, if you want to say. So it's the leader's job to protect the weak or the polite. Don't let the others overshadow them. So listen and make sure they listen. Okay. Number 6. We look here for distribution of work. Distribution of work, which means you read, you write, you audit. There is no repetition, huh? Several groups had a problem with that. Same number, 1 and 1, huh? You cannot have repetition. It's very clear in the directions. But because you didn't have an auditor, you made that mistake. So you plan and you plan well. Part of the planning is to, and advice to the leader especially. The leader leads. In most cases that I saw, the leader leads, reads, writes. He does everything. Cannot do that. Distribute your work. Okay. Number 7. Time management. You manage your time. This is a competition. Some people were so relaxed. They were reading so slowly and sometimes discussing other things. You cannot do that. You have to manage the time. And finally, there are other things, but I want to give you another exercise. Number 8. Managing information. You manage information. How do you manage information? By dividing the information into 3 kinds. Let's do it. There are always, whether verbal or written, 3 kinds of information. Always. A, direct information. There are some statements that tell you, city so-and-so was numbers this and that in this committee. Alas, it's done. So what do you do with this information? You write it down in the schedule. You mark it. You have to mark it. Nobody plays with this. It's a fixed information. You cannot change it. So when you had later on differences, you were not sure which one is right and which one is not because you did not mark it. And then what do? After you write it down and mark it, you cross it. Why did you read it several times? You read it only once and you cross it, خلاص. Because you don't need it again. The second kind of information is irrelevant. Irrelevant information. I filled this exercise with garbage. Information that has nothing to do with what we're looking for. The goal is very clear. We want the order. How many statements have nothing to do with the order? They invited them to tea, somebody left, last year was, what is this? This is irrelevant, huh? It has nothing to do with our goal. What do you do with the irrelevant information? You cross it. How many times did you read it? So you did not manage your information correctly. And then, C is indirect information. This is the trouble here. How many statements did you have? How many sentences? 45. If you cross all the direct information and the irrelevant information, you will be left with less than 10. That is all you have to manage. Huh? Less than 10. You wasted so much time because you did not, this is your biggest mistake, you did not manage information well. Right. So these are the basics of teamwork. Now I will do another exercise. Brothers, ready? Okay, same thing. 2 per team. But before we start, Leaders, stand up again. Quickly, leaders. Stand up. Okay. Leaders, you must change your team. You have to go to another team. Yep. A leader.
How do you punish us?
It's not a punishment. So new leaders will emerge. Okay. Now, the second exercise. Listen, same way. But remember this, huh? We're trying to apply what we learn. This is how you do training. You apply what you learn. So you just learn the team dynamics, how to lead teams. Use it. Now, the second exercise, you have to figure out what you need to do and solve it. Okay? You have to figure out what is required and solve it. And again. But now it's a special treatment. If you solve it correctly, you go home. If you don't solve it, you stay with me. Yalla, start please. One of the most important abilities of leaders is that they make decisions. And even more better is if they can make group decisions, team decisions. And this was the exercise. So another criteria for a good team is decision making. A decision making system or a process. What I have been testing you with is a method called the matrix. This is called the matrix. There is a process for decision making, and there are methods of decision making. Part of the process of decision making is to use the methods of decision making. There are many methods. One of them is decision tree, another is pros and cons, another is minimax, maximax, etc. There are many methods, and one of them is the matrix. The matrix is the best in most cases, but not all cases. So how do we do decision making using the matrix? Pay attention to the screen, please. The first thing you do is you organize your information in a table called a matrix. So this is called a matrix. And then you divide your information according to your conditions. And that's what I did with you. There are two kinds of conditions. There are necessary, or must conditions. You cannot avoid them. And there are preferable conditions. You don't mix them. You do not mix must conditions with preferable conditions. You just don't mix them. So the first thing you do is you make a table just for the must conditions. Don't touch the preferable conditions. Don't even look at them. You read a sentence that is related to preferable conditions, just leave it for later. So now, we put our choices, or we call them alternatives, and we put our conditions there. So the alternatives vertically, and the conditions horizontal. And then we fill the gaps, we fill the information. So this table summarizes everything that you have. Of course, we leave aside the irrelevant information. Huh? I think everyone has done that, mashallah. So I was going around, mashallah, you jumped in your teamwork. You chose a leader, of course. Huh? You did some planning. You dealt with information in a better way this time. You were more motivated. There was a group that was motivated only when I was close to them. So I know these games, huh? So let's go back. Wait. So the first thing I do, this in the bottom is the criteria that is preferable. I don't touch it. As a matter of fact, I should not fill this. I should not touch it. I should not fill it. I should work only with this information. Now, many groups have given me a wrong answer, and they shouldn't. If you know how to do the matrix, you will get the right answer. There's no way. You will get the right answer. So let's do the matrix together. Now we have really 4 conditions. The conference dates, the distance from the airport, and we have the total number of rooms and the cost. What you did wrong is you counted the cost from the airport. It has to be 5 or less. So quickly, this is okay. Holiday Inn, 7, gone.
Time to go home.
What? Is that the battery or what? Okay, thank you. I don't know what happened, but inshallah, we'll finish in a minute. And SAS. SAS is gone. Some people gave me SAS. SAS doesn't meet a condition that's so easy to measure, and that is the distance from the airport. So how could you make such a mistake? Right. So now we got rid of Meridian, Holiday Inn, SAS, and Carter. I don't need to calculate their cost again, huh? So we go to the third condition, total rooms. Now we have 4,003 in a room, so minimum is 1,334 rooms. So immediately we find out that Regency doesn't meet that condition. So let's go. So in few seconds, I got rid of 5 alternatives. Now I do the calculation for the other 5, which is much easier, much simpler. Huh? This is how you do the matrix. So we do the calculations, and we find out, if we do the calculations right, that we will be left only with Hilton and Sheraton and Marriott. Waha does not meet the cost condition. You are wrong. Weston doesn't meet the cost condition. So we will be left with 3. So now, when I'm done with all the must conditions, I go to the preferable conditions, and I do the calculations only for those that are left. So I don't need to fill the whole matrix. So I do Hilton, and Sheraton, and Marriott. So the first condition, it has to be 2 kilometers or less. Hilton doesn't meet it, Sheraton doesn't meet it, and Marriott doesn't meet it. So they are still equal. Now we don't cancel. Preferable conditions means that we give points, but we do not cancel if they don't have that, because it's only preferable. While in the must conditions, we cancel if they don't meet it. Second condition, the conference rooms. Hilton has it, so Hilton gets a point. Sheraton doesn't have it, and Marriott has it. So now a point for Hilton, 0 for Sheraton, a point for Marriott. And then we go to the third condition, and we see that Marriott has it, but the others don't. So Marriott gets 2 points, while Hilton still have 1, and Sheraton is still 0. We go to the last condition, and intentionally I gave you 2 preferable conditions that the hotels that we want to choose don't meet. And some of you were tricked by that, because they did not meet preferable conditions. But again, these are preferable, they are not a must. So in the last condition, none of them meet it. So Marriott gets 2 points. So that's my first choice. Hilton has 1 point, that's my second choice. And Sheraton is my third choice. You cannot go wrong if you do the matrix stuff. So part of leadership is to know how to make decisions, how to lead your team towards decisions. And you must learn decision making, and specifically learn methods of decision making. My advice is to be well versed, especially with the matrix. You use the matrix, and please write down some major criteria, and we'll finish with that. Use decision making methods. And there are certain things that I want to add to here. Number 1, the more conditions you put, the less alternatives you have. Right? You cannot have 30 conditions, 100 conditions. Sometimes you have to. But you try to differentiate between must conditions and preferable. If it is not a must, make it preferable, but don't put 100 conditions. Second thing is that, and this is proven, the more alternatives you have, the better your decision will be. So if you want to buy a house, you don't look at 5 houses and choose one. You look at 50 houses and choose one. Again, the more alternatives, the better the decision. And if you want to buy a car, then you don't look at 2 or 3 cars. Look at 40 cars, 30 cars. You want to get married. Right. So try to minimize your conditions, try to maximize your alternatives. See, I remember one brother, he wanted to get married. So he approached me because he doesn't know any girls, and he said, let your wife help me. So I told him, okay, I don't do this anymore, but okay, Butayna, my wife will help you. Give me, what are your requirements? What are your conditions? He gave me 30 conditions. 30 conditions.
How many alternatives you gave them?
Wallah, I said, sorry, what can you do with it? There is a man who wrote his conditions for a marriage. I want a woman who is beautiful, smart, rich, memorizes the Quran, and he put about 30 conditions. So of course he couldn't find her. So every few months he would cross some of the conditions. And the years pass. So 5, 6 years later, a friend of his sees him and said, mashallah, did you get married? He said, no, not yet. He said, what happened to your conditions? He said, only one is left. He said, what is it? He said, I want a woman. The rest is good. So don't put conditions that you really don't need. Right. So you practiced doing the matrix, and I am glad that you made mistakes, because you learn from your mistakes much more than you learn from doing it. Inshallah, you are enjoying it. Tomorrow I will start at 9, regardless of the numbers who have attended, as I keep my time. So please be here on time. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yeah, two things. The answer of this page that is on the screen is available here, and some have asked for my card, business card, and it's available here if you want to take.